So this week's case study in the book is about vitamin E, PUFA, polyunsaturated fatty acids, and heart disease. So there's a data table in the case study in the book where it has the vitamin, PUFA, and vitamin plus PUFA as compared to a placebo or sugar pill. So the main question that we're trying to answer with this data analysis and data visualization is, does vitamin reduce the risk of death from cardiovascular disease? Does vitamin reduce the risk of death as compared to a placebo, as compared to a sugar pill? Does PUFA, polyunsaturated fatty acid, reduce it as compared to a placebo? And does vitamin plus PUFA reduce the risk of death, reduce mortality, as compared to a placebo? So 3 different questions. Does vitamin work? Does PUFA work? And does vitamin plus PUFA work? In comparison to just a fake pill, in comparison to a fake sugar pill. Remember, we always start with clear. This is the do file that'll be posted on Blackboard. Clear, throw out whatever data's in Stata. Stata only has one active data set at a time. Open the data, open the vitamin data from the course website. We'll open the do file, highlight those 2, press play, and just move that over so we can switch between them readily. So then when you open it in Stata, if you go to variables, remember it has the list, the clock, the folder. The list shows you what it has. So it has a counter. I just use that to create the data set. It has death and it has treat. So we're not going to use list, but we could use a count, right? Count. Okay, so we have 11,324. That's way too many for list, but maybe let's list in 1 through 3. Let's list the first 3. Okay, so person number 1, study subject 1, died. Death is equal to 1, right? If they lived, death is equal to 0. Remember, 1 is always yes, 0 is always no. They were treated with the vitamin. Subject 2 also died, they were treated with vitamin, and subject 3 also died, and they were treated with a vitamin. Let's look at tab death. So how many people died? Right, death equals 1, yes, died. Death equals 0, no, lived. So overall, there were 11,324 people in the study. 639 died, and 10,685 lived. So how many people in the study died? 639. Now tab treat. So these are the different treatments. Remember, we said there's 3 of them plus a placebo. Placebo, sugar pill, 2,828 of them. PUFA, polyunsaturated fatty acid, 2,836 of them. Vitamin E, 2,830 of them. And both, right, vitamin plus PUFA, vitamin plus polyunsaturated fatty acid, 2,830 of them. Remember, in randomly assignment and experiment, there's about the same number of people in each one, because you're flipping a coin, flipping a 4-sided coin or rolling a 4-sided dice, right, and randomly assigning them. So one of the things that happens, given a large enough sample, roughly speaking, is that you have about 2,800 people in the placebo, about 2,800 people with PUFA, 2,800 with vitamin only, and 2,800 with both vitamin and PUFA. Now, if you tab treat by death, you can see for each one what it was. So let me just close my help window there. So remember, death equals 1, died. Death equals 0, lived. So death 0, no. Death, no. Death 1, death, yes. Yes, died. So how many people on placebo died? 193. How many people on PUFA died? 136. How many people on vitamin died? 155. How many people on both vitamin plus PUFA died? 155. By contrast, 2,635 people lived on the placebo, 2,700 people lived on PUFA, 2,675 people lived on vitamin, and 2,675 people with both vitamin and PUFA lived. So most of the people live, some of them die, and the number who dies varies by what treatment they received. So now what we have to do is we have to look at whether or not the PUFA, vitamin, and vitamin plus PUFA save lives, basically. Decrease death, save lives. Decrease mortality, save lives. So if you press, so quietly probe at death, right, that's just a function. I read quietly so it doesn't show us as a function. We don't care what it is. We just need what's called a model of the data, and then we look at the margins and evaluate that. Okay, so let's look at the margins. So remember the p-values? If the p-values are less than 0.05, it's statistically significant. So 0.001, well, that's less than 0.05, so it is statistically significant. 0.035, that's less than 0.05, yes, it's statistically significant. And 0.035, again, still less than 0.05, It's statistically significant. So all of the results are statistically significant. Another way is to see whether the confidence intervals include 0. They don't include 0, they're all negative, right? So PUFA, it decreased the probability of death by 2 percentage points between 3 and 1 percentage points. The vitamin reduced the probability of death by 1 percentage point. It decreased it by between 2 and roughly 1 percentage point. Having both of them also decreased it by 1 percentage point, it decreased it between 2 and less than 1 percentage point. So each of the treatments, right, remember this is compared to the placebo, compared to the sugar pill, they each decrease death, they decrease the probability of death, decrease mortality, so they all save lives. PUFA saves lives, vitamin saves lives, vitamin plus PUFA saves lives. They're all statistically significant. The p-values are less than 0.05. So if it's statistically significant, it means that it decreased it, right? And how much did it decrease? It decreased it by 0.02, and it decreased it by between 0.03 and 0.008. So decrease, 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 statistically significant, yes, statistically significant, yes, statistically significant, yes. So again, you fit the function, you could use Logit. The results would probably be a little different, but roughly similar. You should get roughly the same results with Probit and Logit. I.treat, that means it puts in each treatment separately. I, it's called a factor variable, or like an I for indicator variable. So see how much they change. So evaluate the probability of death in terms of PUFA, vitamin, and both compared to a placebo, right? So these are all changes in the probability of death for the treatments. Treat the different types of treatment, compared to a placebo, compared to a sugar pill. So they all work, and they're all statistically significant. They all work because they're negative, and they're statistically significant because the p-values are all less than 0.05. So if you highlight everything and press play, makes the graph. So you can see it here, right? So the red line 0, everything's lower. The dots, those are called the point estimates, those blue dots. And then those blue bars, those are the confidence intervals. So you can see that both the dots and the confidence intervals are all negative, all below negative. It says effects on PR death, effects on the probability of death, effects on the probability of dying from cardiovascular disease. The first one, the first dot and confidence interval, the first point estimate and interval, PUFA decreased it. Vitamin E decreased it. Remember, this is vitamin E. And vitamin E plus PUFA also decreased it. So they all decreased it, and they're all less than 0. They're all negative. They all saved lives. And the confidence intervals, those ranges are all below 0, meaning that they're all statistically significant as well. So to review it, what do we have? We have, and I'll post the recording on Blackboard as well after class, 193 people died from placebo, 136 people died from PUFA, 155 people died from vitamin, and 155 people died from both. PUFA decreased the probability of death, vitamin decreased it, and vitamin plus PUFA decreased it. That's the dy/dx column. And all of the p-values are less than 0.05. That's the p greater than absolute value of z column. The confidence intervals, the ranges are all negative. You look at the graph, we see everything's below 0, everything's negative. A negative effect on death, that's good. That means that the treatment saved lives. So whether you give them polyunsaturated fatty acid, PUFA, whether you give them vitamin, vitamin E, or whether you give them both of them, they all decrease the probability of death as compared to some sugar pill or placebo, a fake pill. And again, remember that I'll post this recording on YouTube, and then I'll post the entire lecture in class where we do this in a little more detail. I'll post that recording to Blackboard.